attention, please. If you haven't done so at this time, please silence all cell phones and pagers, and please sign in. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. This meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, March 4th, 2020, and the time is 10:02 a.m. Please call the roll.
Chairman Shahardy.
Here.
Commissioner Wagstaff.
Here.
Commissioner Jeffers.
Here.
Commissioner Burcher.
Here.
Commissioner Wood.
Here.
5 present and a quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin this morning with the formalities of our docket, I want to welcome aboard our new commissioner, Ben Jeffers. He's joining us today. It's his first meeting. I ask everybody in the audience to please be kind to him and realize this is his first meeting. Welcome aboard. And I also want to recognize Paul West, who's been with us for the past, I guess, 2.5 years, almost 3 years, probably 3 years. Was a previous member of the commission, and want to thank him for his service to the commission and to the people of Louisiana through his service on this commission. So, Paul, we thank you for your service and wish you the best. All right, at this time, there's no old comments or Mike. There being no old business to take up at this time, I'll accept a motion for the approval of the minutes of the February 19, 2020 open meeting and appeal hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Burcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Mr. West was absent for that meeting. Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consideration of change orders.
Good morning, Commissioners. Meridian Ponte on behalf of Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 1,339 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 1,322 and place 16 in pending status and deny 1 in Orleans Parish, 2nd District. Per the assessor's request, staff requests approval of these change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please.
I would move that we approve 1,322 change orders, place 16 on pending status, and deny 1 per the assessor request.
Second.
Commissioner Burcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers.
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. We'll now consider prior pending change orders.
Meridian Ponte on behalf of Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 22 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 19 and keep 3 in pending status. Staff requests approval of these prior pending change orders.
Have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we accept staff recommendation as it pertains to the prior pending orders, approve 19, place 3 back in pending status.
Second.
Commissioner Burcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers.
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. We'll now consider tax sale cancellations.
Tanisha Malvo on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 6 tax sale cancellations. We have 1 in Caddo Parish for being duly assessed. We have 1 in Lafayette Parish, which covers multiple tax years from 2002 to 2018. This property was split with assessment number 606-2064 in 2002 in error. The property should not have been split or combined together with the original assessment number of 606-2064. The property was then deleted from the tax rolls during the years of 2002-2018. We have 4 in East Baton Rouge Parish. 3 were erroneously sold due to the rightful owner not receiving a tax bill. And the last one in EBR should have been placed on the exempt tax roll. Staff has reviewed those tax sale cancellations and requests for approval.
Make a motion that we approve the tax sale cancellations as stated by staff.
Second.
Commissioner Burcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shamar.
Yes. All right, we'll now consider the decision and the appeal of Oliver D. Gio versus Orange Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22177-005. I'll make the motion that the commission hereby determines the fair market value of the subject property located at 1724 Murray Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, docket number 19-22177-005 as follows. Land, $144,000, improvements, $361,000, for a total fair market value of $505,000.
Second.
Commissioner Burcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
Chairman Shamar.
Yes, Commissioner Jeffers did not sit in on that one, so I think you should abstain on that one, yeah. So it passes by a vote of 4-0. Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to ask anyone who is planning on testifying at the table this morning to please come forward to be sworn in as a witness. If you do not come forward and get sworn in, you will not be allowed to testify this morning.
Good morning, I'm an attorney for the Tax Commission. If you haven't done this before, we swear all the witnesses in together. I will administer an oath. If you'll then approach any of the 3 microphones, affirm the oath by stating "I do" and state your name for the record. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? One at a time, please approach the microphones.
I do, Jeff Mexter. I do, Mark Gillespie.
I do, Thomas Mag. I do, Russell Ambrose.
I do, Jack Smith.
Thank you.
It is the Tax Commission's policy to accept all documents into the record that will timely be filed in accordance with the Commission's rules and regulations. This will be done at the conclusion of all hearings on today's docket. Accordingly, there is no need to formally offer or introduce the exhibits into the record during your appeal hearing. However, if you intend to object to the submission of any of the opposing parties' exhibits, you must notify the Commission at the start of your appeal hearing. As a reminder, this is an administrative hearing, and as such, the rules of evidence are relaxed. The Commission is inclined to review and consider all evidence submitted and to accept such evidence into the record. First item on the appeal docket this morning is the appeal of Thomas Mag versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22177-013. Mr. Mag, come forward. And just give me 1 second to get the paperwork. All right, good morning. This is a taxpayer appeal. Mr. Mag, I'll ask you to please go first.
Okay, thank you.
And just pull that microphone as close as you can to
Is that better?
It's better.
Good morning, members of the Louisiana Tax Commission. I was here a year ago at the same time, disagreeing with the value and assessment that New Orleans assessor had put on my property at number 20 Nearland Place. At that time, you all reviewed the information I gave, and you lowered my assessment, and it was based on number 40 Nearland. And the reason it was lowered, that we felt like the value and assessed value was disproportionately as compared to the surrounding properties. And when you reviewed number 40, you all lowered the assessment and gave me the assessed value pretty much we were looking for. And when I took this, once we got your copy of it and we took it to the New Orleans assessor, they neglected or they refused to honor your agreement or your evaluation. They said it was a a reassessment year. I guess it's once every 4 years. So we were not allowed to use that new valuation or put a freeze on our property, which is what we were trying to do. So today, what I'm asking you to do is review number 40 Neuron Place. There's other areas in my block that have not been reassessed. The assessment on number 40, which the last assessment was based on, has not changed in the last 3 or 4 years. It stayed the same. They have more square footage than I do, so I'm paying more per square footage than the other people in the area, in the neighborhood. So I hope that you will reassess the property as you did last time and come up with the same valuation. So at that point, we were able to go put an age freeze on the property.
First off, 2020 was a revaluation year.
Correct.
So the value from 2019 doesn't fit into the picture. We have to do a revaluation. I did do some research around your home, with your neighbors, and it appeared to me that of all the homes that I checked, none of them had been reassessed for 2020 except you.
Correct.
And also, it was I saw that the assessment that's value and assessment placed on your property of a value of $690,000, a $69,000 assessed value is exactly 10% of your purchase price, which is what we call sales chase, which we're not supposed to be doing. So on two fronts, I have a problem with the assessed value. Number one, nobody else was revalued. And then secondly, no real valuation was done. It was just 10% of your sales price, which means that you could have got a great deal and you could be living in $1 million house, which only assessed at $690, in which case you probably wouldn't be here. Or you got a $100,000 house, and for whatever reason, your wife really loved it, forced you to pay $690,000. So just using the sales price as a basis for valuing properties is not correct. So, my is that our tax commission value, at least what I've seen, Mr. Gillespie's value, $530,000, seems to be more in line with what your neighbors are assessed at. But we still have to hear from the assessor's office. We still might have some questions from Mr. Gillespie.
So what type of freeze were you referring to? Age freeze?
What's that?
What freeze that you were requesting? Was it an age freeze?
Correct.
And that was done,
No, well, when I presented the reassessment from you all last year, my intent was to put an age freeze on the property. But we couldn't because they wouldn't accept that new evaluation, and I didn't want to put an age freeze on $690,000.
which was leading to my next question, if you had followed through with that at the new evaluation or not, and it appears that you did not.
No.
Yeah, we don't, and unfortunately, we don't have jurisdiction over the age freeze.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I understand. But I'm still looking back at number 40 Neuron Place. It's still assessed at $365,000.
Yeah.
It's got 3,900 square feet. I've got 2,900 square feet. And that assessment has been good for the last 3 or 4 years.
What's the square footage you said?
Number 40 Neuron, I think, is 3,900 square feet. And I
It
was
says building area of 4,942.
49.
Yeah, so it's much bigger than,
It's much bigger.
about 2,000 square feet bigger than your property, if I'm reading it right. You have a larger lot than they,
Well, I'm not disputing the lot
Yeah.
of place. You know, the
it's
value
just,
of the lot.
but the building, I see where you're coming from.
When you're bringing up the same argument, it's an equity argument.
Correct. Not equitable with what the other assessments are in the neighborhood.
Are you requesting a lower value than the 361,700, or are you okay
No,
with
I-
whatever 19 was?
I'm okay with whatever
You're
19
you're
is.
okay
I
with
think
the?
that's a fair figure.
Okay.
And it is 40, the number 40 square footage is 4942.
I mean, if you were to compare it to 40 Neron, you actually
Should be lower.
be lower, right?
If you like to lower it, I'm not opposed to that, but I'm okay, you know, I'm okay with what.
Just want to make sure I understand the request. Yeah,
Right.
okay, thank you.
But, don't talk too much more. You're doing good. All right, Ms. Alvarez?
Good morning, Commissioners. So, I agree that 40 Huron Place is undervalued. We disagree with the valuation that the Tax Commission set last year. We think the staff appraiser's value is more accurate. All the comments we have in each property.
So you think that the, Mr. Gillespie's valuation,
It's more in line with what current fair market value should be for the neighborhood.
Are you aware of whether any of the other properties were reassessed, or are you aware that they weren't?
I'm not aware of that. I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't do too much research into it. We felt that the value was, the staff appraiser's value was, appropriate for fair market value. I didn't really look into whether or not the neighborhood was revalued.
Might be time.
Was this part of the area that, I know there was a segment of, I think it was more uptown, that you guys did not have a chance to revalue for this property, right?
Very possibly.
Is this part of that area too, or?
It could be, I'd hate to say yes or no without knowing 100%.
Fontainebleau's kind of near, Carrollton?
it's on Claver, no?
It's a block or two off of the corner of Clay and Cal.
Right about the seminary, right?
But it's in the neighborhood of Claiborne and Broadway, up in that,
Correct.
up in that neighborhood.
Yeah, a former park.
Yeah, about Notre Dame Seminary.
Well, not too far.
So Russell, do you know where the actual assessed value of the 690 came from?
I do not know.
It does represent 10% of the sale price.
Right, yeah.
So,
It's
without
sold in
evidence of the
2016.
contract, what's that?
It's sold in February of 2016 for $690,000.
Yeah, so without any information to the contrary, we got it's it points to sales chance. So, while I do think that that Mr. Gillespie's value is more in line, the fact is nobody else was revalued. And so if nobody else was revalued, it's not fair to revalue you. Anyway, anything else, Mr. Alvarez?
I have nothing further than
Mr.
that.
Gillespie, can you tell us about our appraisal?
Mark Gillespie,
Your
with
appraisal.
the Tax Commission, I appraised the property at 28 Huron Place. Using the sales approach, found three comparable sales that were in the neighborhood or located close to the subject. Using appropriate adjustments, came to a value of $530,000. The land was not disputed at $167,400.
Does anybody have any questions?
Prepared to do a motion if, there's no more questions.
Yes, please.
Based on the evidence presented, it appears to be an equity argument, justification for an adjustment for equity reasons. Therefore, on docket number 19-22177-013, my motion would be to reset it to 2019 land 167,400,000, the improvements of 194,300, totaling $361,700.
Second that?
Commissioner Barcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Waxback,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shahar.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. The next item on the docket has been settled. So we'll move on to item C on the docket under the appeals. The appeal of Jeff Maxtroff versus the Owens Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22177-068. Just give me a moment to get my paperwork. morning. You were sworn in, Mr. Mesfo?
Yes, I was.
Okay. This is your appeal, so I'll have you go first.
Okay. I just want to let you know, I didn't receive anything from the assessor's office in writing. Did y'all receive my information, my packet?
We got you, yes.
Okay, I'm appealing the assessor's assessment of the land value of my residence. The assessor and the appraiser, I believe, did not use similarly situated properties in their evaluation. I accept the building value of $72.80 per square foot that the assessor set, because they were similar to the 8 properties that I gave you that I believe are more similarly situated in my property. I disagree with the land value proposed by the assessor and the appraiser for the following reasons. Comparables were not used of similarly situated properties because of location. The appraiser used properties that were miles away, not located next to Interstate 10. My property is probably one of the closest properties to Interstate 10 that create noise, vibration, particulates, pollution, that devalue my land property. Likewise, the assessor would have you believe that my property, which is located next to Interstate 10, backs up to a parking lot, should have the same value as a property that backs up to a golf course. That is close to my property, but should have completely different values. What I did provide to you were 8 property land values that are more similarly situated, that would cut a line closer to Interstate 10 than being put into a land value of Country Club Gardens, which is, most of the homes are in a neighborhood that's a mile away from Interstate 10. So if the 8 properties that I provided, the assessments that the assessor believes is a proper land value, range in price from $2.50 a square foot to $2.70 a square foot, averaging about $2.53 a square foot. In fact, 6 of them have $2.50 a square foot. One is at $2.51 and one's at $2.70, which is the highest. That is the range, very tight range. I provided you with my appeal to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development to reconsider my property for a sound barrier. They agreed. The local court agreed, and the appeals court agreed that my property location next to I-10 devalued my property and would have a lower value because of it's next to I-10 for all the reasons I stated previously and in my cover letter. I think the property value, the land value would be more reflective of the 8 that I gave you, and I'm requesting, somewhere in that area. I would take the highest level.
On your appeal form,
Yes.
you're requesting, a land value of $14,890.
My land is $7,397 by the assessor's assessment. I think that's probably fair. If it's $2.50, I believe that would come up to a value of,
It should be more like $20.
because of I-10, if you were there and you could stand in.
No, if you just do the math.
What I proposed earlier,
Yeah, you're
before I did my
140
research,
Let's do the total value, 148,900
for,
divided by the 7,397, there's somewhere around $20.13.
that was before I did all my research.
And so the 148.9
It's hot still.
is not actually what you're requesting.
Correct. I'm requesting in the range of the similarly situated properties of which I provided a map, which they're within 800 feet of my property. And the assessor has already admitted that 250 is more of a range of what the land value should be at. Not my next door neighbor, who happens to be backed up to a golf course, he has me appraised land value as the same level as their property.
So I heard a number of $2.53, I think you said?
Yes,
It's
one
an
of the-
average?
Yes, correct, sir.
That would be 18,714 land value.
Yes, sir.
What do you think the value of your home is if you were gonna,
250.
250,000?
I know my next door neighbor had his property up for sale several years ago for 300 and received no bids.
It just seems to me that maybe we do have a bunch of appeals coming out of there, but these values in the assessor's office has are considerably below than, say, the $250,000 range.
The reason I took off of work, and I'm hourly, so I'm taking my vacation time to be here.
But that then leads, I want to ask this question, right? The information we have, you have an improvement value of approximately $130,000 that you're requesting. But you just said $250,000 total, $18,000 on land. So there's your improvement value, and it really doesn't matter on residential if we're talking land and improvement. It's all assessed to 10%. I'm just trying to get it straight in my mind as to which one you're arguing. Are you arguing land value, improvement value, or total value?
Is improvement value the building value as the assessment state?
Your structure, your
Oh,
house.
okay, yeah. I'm fine with the building value.
Which the
improvement value.
assessor has at $175,000.
Correct.
And the
Yes,
board of
I'm fine with
review
that.
lowered it, but you're okay with
Yeah.
the tax assessor's 175?
On the building
Okay.
alone, yes. Yes. And that, I'll tell you, on the building, or what you call the improvement part, the 8 similarly situated properties that I provided to you, they range from $67.24 per square foot to $100.12 per square foot. That's an outlier. It was 74, 74, 76, 73, 73, 74, and 67. So their average building improvement was $76.83. Mine, the assessor had at $72.80. So those are comparable. So I have no complaint with that on the improvement part. It's just on the land value.
You know, land issue.
Yeah. Because of the proximity to I-10.
It just makes the land value sound very, very low.
Right, I agree.
Extremely low, $2.50 for a residential lot in a nice area, even if it has proximity to the interstate. That just sounds very, very low.
So one or two things could be true, right? Either my property should be higher than $2.50, or lower than $30 per square foot.
Well, yeah.
Or these other 8 properties should be
What
different.
fair market value are you asking for on the land? Not per square foot, what's the number?
On the land alone?
On the land alone, what is the number that you're asking for?
75,000. Which is considerably higher than the $2.50 per square foot that similarly situated properties are being, that the assessor thinks.
It gets back to your 250 total.
Right. That puts improvement value of 175, which is what the assessor thinks the improvement value is. I might put words in your mouth, Russell. I know it's your turn next. And I know you look like you're dying to talk.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt, but our office never received any information, so I was wanting to see if I can take a look at it, because the comparables that the taxpayer is providing may not be in the neighborhood that the subject property is, and the subject property, the entire area that he's talking about, is all owned for the same price per square foot. And it's very uniform and equitable land rate in that area. So I haven't had a chance to review any of his documentation. I'd like to do that now, if I may, before I speak.
Looking at the map that you provided,
Yeah.
you see your subdivision, which is right there on the corner of Metairie Road and I-10, behind Zia's. And then there's appear to be a group of buildings, is that New Orleans Country Club?
Yes, it is.
That's New Orleans Country Club, okay. And so the area that you went to is that next area?
Okay.
Did you give us a list of what the value of all of those lots are?
Yes, I
Or
did.
just certain? Because it looks like there's a bunch of lots on the list I'm seeing. There's only like maybe 8.
I think you'd said Quint Street and Hamilton Street, is that all
And,
attached to your property?
Yes, I gave you a little diagram, number diagram, based on the number diagram of each of the properties. Do you have that?
No, well, I have to just, this I'm looking at. but you're-
Number 1 is you?
Number 0 is me. Oh,
zero's not on
I
the
see 1 through 8.
yes. Oh, okay, well, 0 is my property, 1 through 8.
Can you show me on that?
Yeah, I can show you on
Just-
this.
Just hold it up and point it.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I have a little chart that I gave you that's in your packet. I think
Yes,
it's on
we
the
got
second
that.
page. You got it? Okay, good. So,
Where's the chart?
I don't know. Let me see your chart.
I'll share it. You can have it. It's like right there. And then I'll share it.
So,
If you'll
I
share
wanted to
with
write
us,
on
then
this
they'll
map
know.
where each one was. So, number 1 is the corner here. Number 2 is here. Number 3 is here. Number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Wait, do that again? Let's do it so we can see it.
Well, last street,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Last, Quince, Hamilton.
where's Quince at?
Quince is this cross street that goes here.
Okay, that's
So-
a long street there. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like
That's
1,
fine.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And you're saying,
Those are more similarly situated to I-10 than the same.
and you're
prop-
saying that they're at $2.50 a square foot?
Yes, in my packet, the assessor's assessment has that. Different amounts of square footage.
So 9127 Quint Street, the land value is 24,400.
Give me that number again.
24,400.
Number 1.
Number 1 at 9127 Quint Street that has 9,755 square feet.
Right.
Has a land value of 24,400.
Okay. All right, so that's on,
How old are those subdivisions? That's an older,
Similarly.
similar name.
In my packet, you have pictures of each one.
so on Hamilton,
It might be on the
5,900.
back of it.
Yeah, I see it. I've got the pictures, but
These are pictures taken by the assessor's office. And just for the record, I have my mailed receipt that I mailed that same packet that I sent to you, that I sent to them.
Okay.
And I
And that just
I
may
don't
be
know why
that they
they
didn't get
didn't
into
right there.
Russell's hands, not that they didn't.
Yeah,
get it.
okay.
that'll make sense.
So, just for the commission's FYI, none of those comparables are in the same neighborhood as them. They're all in Dixon subdivision, not in the Country Club Gardens subdivision. It's a completely different neighborhood with a different run rate based on different sales and different land values. They may be in proximity to the interstate as subject property, but it's an inferior neighborhood compared to the land study that was performed by the assessor's office. And just to reiterate, the current value, land value that the subject property or the appellant's property is a uniform value to all the other properties in the same neighborhood. So any deviation from that value would cause an inequity with the surrounding neighbors.
Are you part of the Metairie Country Club residential area?
No, that's New Orleans Country Club.
This is New Orleans, but no.
Okay.
Well, So the assessor would grouped me with the Country Club Gardens Association. I'm not a member of it, but saying that properties that are a mile away, down the road from I-10, where the majority of the properties are, right? 100 versus 12 on my street are valued the same.
That's incorrect.
Okay, how many are in Country Club Gardens?
I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head.
Is it more than 2 dozen?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. All I can tell you is that your comparables in a different neighborhood than your property. That would be the same as if comparing the bar to the birds and the jewels. Two different neighborhoods.
I pulled up the property next. This is where the issue comes in.
All of
The property next to me, by Robert Shimmick, 6506 Oakland Drive, which backs up to the golf course.
$30 a square foot, just like yours.
Correct, and that's nominally. What did they actually pay?
They all are at $30 a square foot.
They pay $202,300. Because they've been frozen. So they're not here in front of you arguing that their land value should be lower. It's here on the assessor's website. Both of my neighbors on either side, they have a land freeze. They're not here. The assessor could say our property's worth $100 a square foot, landowner. They're not going to be here to do it.
This may be one of those where we're going to have to kind of, one of us sit down, get into the computer and really get a better visual what's around you.
And I agree with that. I don't want to just, do the eyeball test. Look at the picture of the subject property at in the LTC appraisal. And then look at the photo that the taxpayer presented of 9101 Quint Street. One of them, the 9101 Quint Street, I'm just eyeball test, is on a $24,000 lot. And the subject property, as far as the assessor is concerned, is on a $221,000 lot. Don't pass the eyeball test.
I agree.
No, all I can tell you is that this neighborhood is an interior neighborhood. It's valued uniformly. The subject property for the appellant is superior to this neighborhood, and we have valued both neighborhoods the same. All the property in the appellant's neighborhood are all on for $30 a square foot. This one in Dixon is on for whatever it's on for. They're all on for the same value.
One second.
The overall value is roughly the same.
I'm not really saying which one's right, which one's wrong, but it's obvious one of them's wrong.
Well, and let me say this. I look at the subject property, Mr. Nextroff's property. And I look at the comps, I'm sorry. Am I saying your name correctly?
You are, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I said the lovely property. I'm just giving
And
myself.
I'm looking at these comps that he's given us. And the first thing I'm noticing, number one, is that just looking at the homes, these lots have to be worth more than $24,000, $15,000, $20,000, $9,500, $29,300, $18,000. I mean, this is the greatest bargain in the world that these properties are really only worth $18,000 and a lot's only worth $28,000. That just seems extremely low. Number two, none of these properties were revalued for 2020. Everyone's the same as last year and the year before. So when you are not valuing property uniformly and consistently across the board, and you're only valuing some properties, you discriminate. And the state school systems rely on the local property taxes to determine how much money goes to local school systems. So if you revalue my house, but you don't revalue any of my neighbors, number one, it's not fair to me that I would pay a higher value because my house happened to be the lucky one to get revalued when nobody else did. And then secondly, just the minimum foundation formula that comes off the assessment rolls. So now all of a sudden, school systems around the state are possibly being deprived of revenue that they otherwise might be entitled to. I've got to say on the smell test, just on top, the $30 a foot doesn't sound unreasonable, but certainly $2.50 even in the subdivision down the street sounds unreasonable. And so that's the dilemma that we have to try to figure out what to do with.
They're not in the
And that's
same
my
neighborhood.
opinion. Other commissioners may disagree, but that's my opinion.
We revalued the subject property's neighborhood, so we did all the property in that neighborhood.
All in Oakland, I think, on Oakland we're done, but not in the comps, and I suspect.
That's a separate neighborhood, it's not in the same neighborhood.
Well, I understand,
And I think
but that's discriminating against him and everybody on Oakland by not revaluing everybody on Hamilton and the other streets. It's not fair to them. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it's not fair. Why would you revalue my subdivision and my taxes go up, and you don't revalue the neighboring subdivision, so their taxes stay what they were the previous year or go down or what have you, based on what happens to the village?
That's above my pay grade.
I understand that. That's all I'm saying. Russ, I'm not blaming you, okay? You're getting the brunt of it because you're sitting there, and I understand that. I'm not blaming you. But it just does not seem fair that his property or his neighborhood got revalued, but we're not gonna do any of these other folks. We'll get around to them in 2-3 years, maybe 4 years.
And I can understand the commission's position.
Right.
It's my position as an office that and we tried to settle with the taxpayer for staff's recommended appraisal. We realized that it was more in line with the board review, and we were okay with that, but the valuation passes both criteria. The $335,000 is a good value for fair market value, and the $30 land rate is uniform and equitable compared to the subject property's immediate neighbors and all the other properties in that neighborhood. So it passes both of those.
But
It may not
again-
be, we didn't do every single property in the parish. That is 100% correct.
The appraiser does not address the equity issue.
But it passes
That's not
equity
his
issue.
job. That's
because-
not the appraiser's job.
But would you agree that where his house is in his particular neighborhood would have the same land impairment issue as the others by the interstate? If that truly is an impairment issue?
I don't think that is a impairment issue. I don't agree.
But would you?
Even if the DOTD said it in the suit,
How in the world is it that big of a land difference with, that's probably less than a quarter of a mile maybe?
Well, it's right on, I'll tell you where it is, it's right on the other side of the entrance to New Orleans Country Club, that middle part there,
I mean,
is the entrance to New Orleans
This is
Country Club.
probably not a quarter of a mile.
No, it's
800 feet,
Back end.
and your legend is on there.
a hop, skip, and a jump.
Does the 250 square foot need to be up?
So it's a
More than likely. Is the $30 a square foot for his property too high? Absolutely not.
And to that point, the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development believes that my property is lower.
Do you
The
have
local
information
judge,
from them as to what they think the property value should be?
they agreed to it under oath in a court of law. The
Was
lower
it-
court judge
was
said
this
it, and
part
they.
of that judgment?
No.
What's
No,
value-
this is recent,
All right.
a couple weeks ago.
What value did the DOTD set during the hearing? I'd like to know that.
There was, what the judge determined was my property value was diminished due to the expansion of Interstate 10, due to being so close to it.
But
And
you
how
didn't give me
noise
a
did.
value.
They didn't give me a direct value, no.
but they did say that it was impaired. And
Absolutely
you're saying
it's
it's not
impaired.
impaired, is that right, Russell?
I'm saying it's not impaired, especially since the person closer to the interstate from him is not as appealing. And the person closer to the interstate from the.
But if they have,
Is on the same
age
value.
freezes, I think that would be what he said.
Not all of them have age freezes.
Do we know which ones don't?
I don't have that information in front of me.
I would disagree with him. Both my neighbors, the right and left, both have age freezes, and the one on my right across the street has an age freeze.
We can't know for sure without actually looking at that, and like I said, the,
I'm,
the.
Well, we have
I'm happy-
sworn testimony, so we don't have to get into
I'm,
an argument about that.
if you want to talk about age freezes, this property is still in Robert Schimmick's name. He died 2 years ago. I don't want to hurt anyone else here.
Are we ready?
Well,
for-
yeah, I think we are. Let me say that, you know, uniformity is, we got to hear from Mr. Gillespie first. But uniformity is certainly crucial, but we want to be uniformly correct. Uniformity in and of itself is one thing, but we need to be uniformly correct. So we could have you at 50 cents a square foot like everybody else, and we're uniform. But I don't think 50 cents a square foot is correct. You may be at $30 a foot, and everybody else may be at $30, which makes it uniform. And then the next test is that correct? And that's the question that we don't doubt you're uniform with your neighbors. I think your neighbors are probably all on for $30 a foot.
Yeah.
But the other subdivisions on at $2 something a foot with properties that may or may not be the same kind of property in your area, but they certainly, those lots have to be worth more than $25,000. I think. I mean,
I agree.
looking at the homes, I
agree.
think it looks like it ought.
And why I said, you know, you asked me what my land value was. I don't think it's worth 18. I mean, I said 70, I think, right?
And
So I totally agree with you.
I do want to ask this question, because it, you know, it's come up before, and you've made the same argument. But here's a prime example, right? The land value versus improvement value, the two equal the total value. Now, the assessor in the past, okay, will keep the land value where it's at, and we'll reduce the improvement value. This taxpayer is saying, I'm okay with the improvement value you have. Now, you just said you're okay with the LTC staff appraisal. The LTC staff appraisal got the improvement value at $113,000.
Yes.
Taxpayer saying he thinks it's worth $175,000. My point is that you can't just say, boom, every lot, every square foot in that subdivision is X number of dollars, unless the overall value is right.
And our overall value, I believe, was.
Because if you go back to that same argument and look at the area you didn't reassess, the one he's using at $2.50 a square foot, if we said, all right, let's bring that to 20, you can reduce that guy's improvement value down to make the land value work.
No, we wouldn't, we're not gonna
But,
be
you
doing
know,
that.
well, that's happened in the past.
It may have happened in the past, but
If we let this go through, it's gonna happen again, right?
the neighborhood that is using this as comparable is, in fact, it has not been revalued. We're gonna be revaluing it. We're not gonna keep the land, up the land rate and reduce the building rate. We're gonna be revaluing the entire neighborhood completely. And I have a strong, I can almost guarantee that land rate is gonna be up from wherever it is, because $2.50, I'm not sure
Okay, so
whether.
if the taxpayer agreed that the overall value, this is just I'm not suggesting this,
Hypothetical.
but if hypothetical, if the overall value that the LTC staff appraisal had of $335, he agrees with the improvement value of $175, are you willing to reduce the land value? Because then it's going to be out of whack with everything. But you've already agreed to the LTC staff appraisal.
We tried to settle with the taxpayer in order to expedite this and not having to have a hearing, because it was close to the border of use value. They came in at $360, we figured $335 was a decent enough value. It's only 16% from our initial value of $396. So we attempted to settle with them. We don't feel that the taxpayers' land rate should be lower than the surrounding areas. It would be an inequitable value compared to the surrounding area.
The surrounding area, you've got land at $2.50 a square foot.
Right.
I'm talking about the surrounding area in the subject properties neighborhood.
Where are the comparables for $30 a square foot in his subdivision?
That I don't know. I would have to talk to our land person. I don't value land.
Russell, on his assessment that we have a copy of that he provided, in 2018, building value 175. 2019, building value 175. 2020, building value 175, and the only thing that went up is the land value. And so y'all are saying that the land value increased, but not the improvements.
Here's some. I can't.
Let me add a little more color there. You were on the previous one. We had a negotiation of why those values were where they are, because Henry Heaton before that had my assessment around what I thought it was, I'll have to look back, it was somewhere between 230 and 250. That higher value was kind of a negotiated rate, and the Louisiana Tax Commission told New Orleans assessor, Emmy, I don't want to see you back here. So that's 3 years. So now, this is the 4th year, right? So this is why I'm back here, and because I think the values are just out of whack.
This year's the first year of a new reappraisal, so anything
And
prior
here.
would not be affected by the prior valuation.
Right, but we were bringing up the value of the 3 previous
Well,
years, and I wanted to say they were higher than what I would
Well,
have.
way back when you were
agreed.
talking about, you were in some litigation,
Correct.
there was they were gonna build the DOTD agreed, they were gonna build a noise wall, they couldn't get the
Right.
funding for it. My memory's not quite what it used to be, but that's.
Right, that's exactly right, and that's why I appealed it, and yes. And rightfully so, because there are only 12 houses in my area along that stretch of Interstate 10, it didn't meet the economic value to build the wall, not that they didn't have the money. So they didn't, but they agreed in court, they said, yeah, your home's good, it's damaged right now, you're way above the national safe sound levels around your home. You have every right to be considered for a sound wall, and we did consider you, we found you to be unsafe. Besides the particulate, there was an 18-wheeler that comes down off of Metairie Road overpass that on the bottom it broke in half, literally right in half, and all of its contents all over the place in my front yard. I just can't see that being close to I-10 would have the same land value as being backing up to a golf course of a country club. And because of that, because the assessor says, oh, well, you're in that same neighborhood, you have the same land value. It just doesn't make sense. Especially when 8 other properties 800 feet away from me have values that are, 12 that. And I agree. Make my property 4 times as much as that. $10 a square foot. At $10 a square foot, it would be $248,970. I'm fine with that. 10 times above what the assessor thinks that the other properties are worth. 30 or whatever, 30 versus 250. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm taking on more.
All right, Mr. Gillespie, let's hear from you about your appraisal.
Okay, Mark Gillespie with the Tax Commission. I did appraise the property on Oakland Drive, 6500 Oakland Drive, and regarding the land value, I used land sales that I felt were similar with similar subdivisions. I did consider the sales that are just south of the subject, and we've had a couple of appraisals that we've done in this area in the past, and most of the taxpayers seem to be okay with $30 a square foot. However, 2 of the situations were these properties were severely encumbered, so we made several adjustments downward in order to reflect that. In this situation, I didn't really consider those on the south side. Now, on the market approach for the whole property, I used 3 sales that were very similar and close proximity to the subject. I made an adjustment regarding the view, which I consider for the I-10 service road, and that pretty much addressed that situation with the location being near the Noyne I-10 service road, and I arrived at a value of $335,000, and the land value was $221,000.
Now, you said you made an adjustment for
Yes, sir.
location.
In the market approach for the whole property, if you look down at the about 3/4 of the way down the page, there's an adjustment for view. because it is a noisy place.
They were very large adjustments.
It's pretty loud there, and honestly, the land value, I considered those ones south of the subject, and kind of looked around a bit, but $2.50. I just didn't feel like that was comparable.
Well,
But those were not actual sales though, were
no,
they?
that's just the
No, but I think
assessment.
there were some sales that reflect that.
In that subdivision?
Yes, yeah, but not within our time frame. And
$2.50.
Well, let's put it this way, lower without knowing the
I
exact
mean,
number.
it might be lower, but
Right,
is
yeah.
it really $2.50?
Well, I don't think it may not have been that low, but just using that number to argue. But if you go south, if you go into Lakeview, roughly $20 a square foot is the going rate there, and it's pretty solid. Of course, we're just slightly north of there. So, and I kind of considered this little neighborhood to be kind of prestigious, and I found sales that were, in my opinion, be similar to that. Maybe digging much deeper might find more information about the sales. But, you know,
Is that
as far
south
as-
side neighborhood that much less prestigious, or?
I kind of considered it not to be quite as prestigious, I think, for lack of a better word.
But I mean, $2.50 makes it sound like it's a crime-infected, deserted neighborhood.
Well, I don't think it's that.
is it?
No, sir. But it was much lower than the values that I considered to be appropriate for this.
Is this house directly on the I-10, or is it one house?
I think he's one lot over.
One house over.
One house, okay.
But it's still, that whole little street.
Do you think, based on what you've heard today, do you think that the adjustments you made are sufficient?
Yeah, in fact, I would have considered a location adjustment with the land based on the same situation with the sound.
You didn't make that
noise.
adjustment on the
Not on the
land?
land, I addressed it in the whole property, just because I think I was considering this to be a consistency issue with the land values in that area, like what you said.
That's not our problem. I mean,
Right.
Look, if the land was on at $100 a foot, and everybody else was on at $100 a foot, that's consistent.
Right.
Consistently wrong.
Might not be right, you're right.
But it's consistently wrong. So I don't care what everybody else is. I care what the property's worth. So should there be an adjustment in the land because of that location?
Yes.
Just land itself. So what kind of adjustment should there be?
Say probably 20% adjustment downward in order to recognize the.
As well as the adjustments made in the whole property?
Right, yeah, because that would be a whole separate issue with the land. So let's see where that would go.
So you made an adjustment on the improvement side, but not an adjustment
Right.
on the land side,
Yes, sir.
because you were trying to stay with the consistency factor.
With the land, yes, sir.
With the land.
So you're saying that you give an adjustment to the land of 20%? You think that's adequate?
See where that goes.
30% more adequate, or just 20%?
Well, let's see.
What you think is adequate?
%30 would certainly be reasonable.
How much?
30%.
30. Yes.
On the comparables, the appraiser says that I have a garage.
Yeah.
So that's news to me.
Well, I thought
I don't even have a carport.
You just have a driveway?
Yes, sir. You see the picture?
What does that do to your calculation, Mr. Munson?
it was a garage.
Is there another building in the back? in the
Yeah,
rear?
this is garage, maybe.
Part of the 2,400 square feet that they say my property is.
This is not a garage, maybe.
What is he?
You can look on the assessor.
Do you know what
I
he
just-
pointed
I
out?
only did an exterior inspection, and it appeared to be a garage to me.
Is there another building on the property besides your home itself?
So this is the area that you're
I
talking
got
about,
you.
that's included in the square
That's
footage.
just- That's my fault.
Yeah, sure.
While we're doing, I'm gonna ask the assessor one other question. Right, if you have a subdivision that has and generally you have this just about every subdivision, couple lots, that you have to put a sewer lift station, and the city required the sewer lift stations on the front of the lot, and encumber a portion of the lot. Now, are you saying that that lot's gonna have the same value as one that don't have a sewer lift station in the front yard?
I don't value, the land, I would go with whatever value.
I mean, we've had other appeals with Orleans that there's been some concessions on some similar situations in the backyard floods, as part of the property in a flood prone area. You know, there are always little nuances that can occur that will limit the value of the property. And there's some forms of obsolescence that can be granted to account for that.
Sure, I understand, but I don't think the taxpayers' property has any
No,
obsolescence.
but you said you always value every property in a neighborhood the same way.
No, didn't say that we always do that. I said that this subject has all the same value. I don't actually do the land. Mr. Keith values the land, and I know that he doesn't, I hate to say what Mr. Keith does because I'm not Mr. Keith, but the land value that we have, the only argument that I have is that it's consistent. And any encumbrance upon the subject property is the same encumbrance upon the rest of the properties. The only thing that I'd like to also get in the record is that property in the subject property is in a superior location where you have an ingress off of Metairie Road and also on the interstate. Duck Hook, from the comparables that the taxpayer is providing, and is in a different neighborhood. It's a little cul-de-sac. It's mostly townhomes. Dixon, the next subdivision over, is also an inferior neighborhood. It has a ingress from the interstate, but mostly to get to Dixon, you have to come through Dixon too, which is very inferior property. There's a lot of vacant abandoned homes. It's a poor condition property, so you have to actually go through there to get to a lot of the areas in Dixon. It doesn't have the same egress as the subject property. I just wanted to get that on record.
Okay, while we're on doing that, get it on record. Get on record for me. You said earlier that you're okay with the LTC staff appraisal.
Correct.
What values? What are the LTC staff appraisal values that you agree with?
I think the land is appropriate, and the building.
So the land is, you're agreeing at $221,900, $113,100 on approved value?
Correct. As an appraiser myself, I agree that the building would then be undervalued, but in the essence of trying to get this settled, we agreed with the tax commission staff appraisal in order to get this property settled. I honestly feel that would decrease the building value, but the overall land rate would remain consistent and uniform with the rest of the neighbors. And I think that would stop us from having an equity argument and the rest of the neighborhood coming in and wanting to get a reduction.
So let me ask a question to our staff appraiser. Hearing the evidence that you've heard, and now that you're kind of rethinking your appraisal approach, you're comfortable with your improvements value of $113,000, and the land, you mentioned earlier, you'd be comfortable with a 30% adjustment to land value?
I just crunched the numbers and, 30% adjustment downward, on the sales would put it at $20 a square foot.
So totaling, if you add the two together, you'd be somewhere around
I'm
$268,000.
only showing it. I didn't add them all together.
You feel that's an adequate
Sure.
adjustment?
Absolutely.
Since you're a taxpayer, you feel that's an adequate adjustment?
I do, and I just want to add that the only ingress is off of the I-10 service road. There's no entrance to Metairie Road. So
Russell,
Russell, do you agree with that approach?
No, I do not.
Okay, your problem's with land. You think the land should be?
Our problem is if you put the property at 250,000, 260,000, it's grossly undervalued considering the rest of the neighborhood.
So let me ask this question. So you're saying, because on the map, it kind of looks like it goes to Metairie Road, but you're saying that's a dead end? And so it does not go to?
It is a dead end.
There's an
In fact,
address.
there's two signs in the front when you enter it. This is a
If you
dead
look at
end.
it carefully.
So you gotta get on
it's
I-10 to get to Lawrence's house in Metairie, right?
Or you can get Penny Park Avenue and go around.
That's a
You take that
devaluation.
road, yeah.
You can get
See, the
off.
problem is you live too close to his neighborhood. You get penalized.
I'm done on moving.
All right, look, so I'm not going to, I still think I'd like to take this matter under advisement, but, so I am perfectly clear on what we're talking about. Mr. Gillespie, what land value have you calculated based on the testimony today?
Rounded at $148,000, which is $20 a square foot.
148,000 on the land,
Right.
and what value on the
Okay,
improvement?
now the whole property value, the appraisal that I did, which was $335,000, that's a solid number.
Right, you're sticking with that number. That was my point in asking you that,
Right.
Russell.
335,000,
Yes, sir.
what is it, so I'll look it up, 35,000, zero?
335,000, I'm not sure what the square foot value is on that, but the land value, I think, should be reduced to $20 a square foot.
All right, Mr. Mextro, what Mr. Gillespie is saying is that he has valued the whole property based on comparables and comes up with a value of, excuse me, you have to make an adjustment, you say it does not have a garage.
Actually, I just thought about that.
Okay.
That would bring it down to roughly $325,000.
How much?
$325,000 for the whole property, and that would, and I put the land value of $148,000, which would be.
Whatever the difference is would be improved.
Yes, sir, exactly.
All right, Mr. Mextro, what he is saying is making the adjustment for no garage. And so the only structure on your property is your actual home itself, where you live. Making a 30% adjustment on the land, which would lower it to $148,000. And an overall value of your property of $325,000. The difference, whatever that is, would be allocated to improvements.
I'm a little bit confused. Okay, so,
What is it?
177,000.
What Mr. Gillespie did, and then we'll talk to Mr. Alvarez in a minute. What Mr. Gillespie did was based on testimony that he's heard this morning. He's made an adjustment on the land value
to 148,000.
to 148,000.
And what is the, are
And
the
then
improvements value?
he took his overall whole property value,
Oh,
his whole property value, adjusted for the fact that he had you with a garage that you do not have, and adjusted that value down to $325,000. So, number one, we put the land at $148,000, the building, the structure, your home at $177,000, for a total fair market value for the property as a whole of $325,000.
And I think earlier you had said you were okay with the tax assessor's value of the improvements, which was $175,000.
See, on the first page of this, I have 113,100.
That's the.
In conclusion, subject to the limiting conditions herein contained, the estimated fair
Well,
market
okay,
value.
but you got to understand, the first approach is because we're talking about residential property, the first approach is to value the property. In other words, the land and the building. What is the total value by looking at the total sales price of comparable properties? So the value adjusted by Mr. Gillespie is $325,000. That's accounting for the garage. Then, because of the location issue, Mr. Gillespie adjusted the land value down to from $30 down to $20 a square foot, which is $148,000. So the overall value of the property would be $325,000, $148,000 toward the land, and $177,000 toward the improvements. So,
Which we just, I mean, we went from 113,000 of improvements to 177,000 in improvements?
okay. So your argument is your property, you told me earlier, you thought your property was only worth $250,000. Do you have comparables to support that?
I agree that the land value was the 8 comparables that were similarly situated, and I thought my land value was higher than what the 8 similar that the assessor believes what the property was. In fact, I said 4 times as much as what they were at $10 a square foot. I'll accept $20 a square foot on that if the improvement value stays as what the appraiser says, that 113,100. Which would come out, I think, to 248.
All right, so any other questions, any other statements? I'm gonna make a motion to take this matter under advisement.
Second.
Commissioner Berger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waxback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood? Yes. Commissioner Jeffries?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahar?
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item on the docket, the appeal of Charles Pennywell versus Owens Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22177-069. I do not believe anyone is here this morning on behalf of the property owner. We did receive an email from a representative of the property owner, Mr. Lockwood, in which they state that they accept the appraisal performed by the staff. So we'll enter that into the record. That will be entered into the record. All right. Ms. Alvarez?
Good morning, Commissioners. So we feel that the Board of Review's valuation is a more accurate reflector of market value, considering this property is a newly constructed property. It's sold recently. This is, pardon me one second,
Well,
it's 114 Street.
Let me hold up 1 second. If I'm incorrect, somebody correct me. Mr. Gillespie's valuation is $550,000.
Correct.
Did the Board of Review lower the value?
No, so they
That's
upheld
incorrect on the appeal sheet?
I believe so. I got the upheld 695.
600, okay, all right, well, that's where the confusion is. Okay. All right, I'm sorry now, Ms. Alvarez, go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No problem, sir. So we feel that the Board of Review's valuation is more accurate reflector of market value because it's newly constructed property. It's a newly constructed subdivision, new streets, new electrical lines, new utilities, and property, all the properties on the street, excuse me, are all new spec homes. They're all custom built constructed houses. And that the no adjustment was made for the location of this property, which is a superior location within the neighborhood because it's a newly constructed street. And that we feel that placing the value at 70% of its fair market value that it recently sold for is not an accurate reflection of market value, and that's all we have for that.
Mr. Gillespie?
Martin Gillespie with the Tax Commission. I met with the property owner, or actually with the property representative, and appraised 114 Oak Tree Street. It is a newer location. This property sold on March of 2017 for $755,000. I spoke with the builder, who informed me that the subject property was one of two speculative venture spec homes, and included many additional amenities such as superior construction quality in the other homes in the area, elaborate sound system, and a superior landscaping package. Plus, it was one of the first sales there, so it was, again, speculative. So after doing appraising other properties in that small neighborhood, I find that the sales that I used for the comparable market approach is more consistent, putting in the value at $550,000 and the land value at $156,000.
I'm not a fan of sales chasing, as I think everybody knows. And I'm not advocating sales chasing by any stretch of the imagination. But we did have a sales price of $755,000, and we have an appraisal of $550,000, which is over $200,000 difference. Either somebody paid way too much, or the appraisal is very low. And again, I'm not, an appraisal can justify the sales price, which is fine. But just, sales price alone is not should not be the criteria for value of property. But how do we explain the difference of roughly $205,000 between the sales price?
I didn't speak to the buyer, but I spoke to the builder and the seller.
What about other homes in that street? None of them are sold?
There's one other one, in fact, it's the next to you, and it was also a spec home.
And what did it sell for?
Only two that have sold on that street.
And what did it sell for?
That one sold for $714,800, and I think it's similar in size. Yeah, they're very, very
I mean,
close
why
in
not
size.
why not use that sale as one of your comps?
2017. It's outside of our window.
So both these houses are similar,
Right.
and was this one that dropped in price?
One sold in March of 2017 and one sold in May of 2017.
Was the price going down or up?
I think, well, the price went down slightly for the second sale.
But it's slightly
not
smaller.
much. Yeah, not much.
Yeah, it's
And
$40,000.
Which one was the second sale?
This is the next appeal, which sold in May of 2017, 2 months after the first sale.
Okay.
But the comps that I'm using are very close in proximity to the subject. They're older, but it's in a very nice elite neighborhood, and they've been renovated and kept up well over the years. Essentially prior to the sale, because when they sold, they were in excellent condition. And it's the only thing that we have to base it on.
And unless whoever bought the house paid cash for it, they got financing.
It was a cash
It
sale.
was a cash sale.
As far as, actually, you know what, I don't have the deed or the MLS data. Well, I did have it, but I don't know if I researched that closely, but I know there were extra amenities, and the builder, when he sold it, he said, when you have a new property in a new neighborhood, you kind of just throw in darts. So he had an asking price, he asked it, and the buyer purchased the property. I'm sure the buyer was knowledgeable as well, but I don't know what data that the buyer used in order to determine the fair market value.
Okay, hell of a sound system.
Yes, that's right. He said like a $50,000 sound.
50,000 here and
Right.
50,000 there,
The
depending on what else.
landscaping. And the construction quality is incredible.
Any other questions?
In fact, I even make adjustments based on quality of construction.
If I may, that's the actual point of our disagreement, is that the comparables used in Mr. Gillespie's appraisal may be in excellent condition, but they're also 40, 50 years old. So there's a 40, 50-year-old slab, there's 40, 50-year-old plumbing, electricity, or electrical lines. It's not a newly constructed house as these are. And if these are newly constructed and they have a lot of amenities, then they're superior to the surrounding area, and therefore you should make an adjustment for the superior quality construction and location of the property. That's just our opinion.
Well, I you know, possibly, maybe the taxpayers premature this neighborhood, and I would think if they build some more homes in there and they end up being 550, there would be adjustments made.
Well, almost every single lot on this property, every single lot in this neighborhood has sold. There's maybe a couple that are still in the developer's name, but they're all been sold and they've all built their own custom-built homes. So every lot is almost sold. They sold them all as vacant lots, and then the builder has then built custom homes in this neighborhood. They're almost all.
So is the neighborhood built out?
Yes, it's all built out. There's only 3 or 4 vacant lots in this neighborhood. The rest of them have been built with custom homes on them.
They were just not speculative built, so do you use the building permit to value those, or
Well,
are those
those-
valued? How are they valued?
Those are used in the cost of purchase value.
So they're similarly valued as the subject property we're talking about?
I believe so. I hate to say yes or no because I didn't revalue the neighborhood. I do know that like I said, all the homes in here are, all the lots here are built out with the exception of a handful. I would have to assume that this property is built, value based on the cost of purchase value, but I couldn't guarantee you that fact, and I'd hate to say it was 100%, but that's how.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we stick with the board review recommendation.
Okay, so, let's see, what would that be? That would be 156,000 on the land, 539,300 on the improvements, for a total of 695,300. Correct?
Yes.
I'd second that.
Commissioner Barcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
Chairman Sharp.
Yes. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Yes, sir.